Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Happy Marriage Seminar. Probably gonna do this in 3 parts, so stay tuned for the rest, because we gotta get into some real information. I mean, some life-changing, life-blessing, life-helping information. One of the first things I gotta tell you is simply this: life is an adult game. Though many of us are still children, like children of God, or what have you, life is an adult game. And so you have to maneuver in terms of relationships in regards to adult logic and thinking. I'm going to show you what that's all about. I'm going to break it all down for you. First thing I want to tell you, though, that in my life I've had some wonderful relationships and experiences, and this one is important. You know, I started off telling you life is an adult game, and that's another way of saying we have to talk about sex. And I know a lot of people want to talk about sex, but want to pretend don't want to talk about sex. You know, that's the biggest problem, really. But we're going to get down with it, and I'm going to tell you how I had an amazing experience with a girl I met. I was on my way to the grocery store, and she was on her way to the grocery store. I was driving. She was walking, but she had a huge plastic bag. This was in Detroit, where you could take returnables back to the grocery store. She had a big old bag of can, and she looked kind of cute. I said, let me help this young lady out. And you know, that's how it all started. We became friends. We weren't really dating until one day we had a surprise date. She surprised me with the date thing, and man, we had an experience in the passenger side of the car, front seat, for 3 hours straight, non-stop. Man, I tell you, man, it was so amazing. I could never, ever forget that moment. And the reason why I'm sharing it with you is because it was an outstanding moment, indicative of the number one quality for a successful boy-girl relationship. Because I say that because that's the relationship that God honors in the Bible. And I go by the Bible, and that's where you get good wisdom from. Great wisdom, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, can you imagine it, though? I want you to think about it for a minute. 3 hours in a passenger seat, making love, straight, non-stop. It was something greater than the both of us. I mean, man, you just will never get over an experience like that, but it's so indicative. Number one, quality for a successful relationship is chemistry. Now, the funny thing about it, I was attracted to the young lady. She was cute. All I could see was her face, you know, per se. She had on, you know, pants, shirt, whatever. But all I could really see was her face, and it was from a distance, right? And so, you know, for those of you who are single and considering marriage, it's not totally based upon the appearance that you see with your eyes. If you base it on that, you are likely pursuing what other people want or what other people think you should have, as opposed to what's really gonna work for you. What's really gonna work is more important. Of course, you can ask a lot of divorced people about it. What's really gonna work is more important than anything else. Because at the end of the day, you know, when husband and wife go to bed and cut out the lights, there's a lot that you think, and there's a whole lot that you don't see, and a whole lot that doesn't bother you about the other person that perhaps people in your circle might not approve of. So my point is, with this young lady, with this date, and we got closer, but we had amazing chemistry. You might call it compatibility, but I don't want you to think about compatibility, because two idiots can agree to rob a bank and they'll both go to jail. They're compatible on an idiot level. And so that's not always the way to view it. You want to think about chemistry. And that chemistry, if you can find chemistry at 75%, you got a perfect match. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual, but it will show up in the sex life. So if you're single, you're considering marriage, what you are looking for is the chemistry. That's number one, the chemistry. On the other hand, if you are married, and if your marriage is on the rocks or in trouble or something like that, or you're just not happy, which that accounts for most people who are married, you just have whole hum, go to work or manage our resources, eat, sleep, go to bed, you're not really happy, then the word is intimacy. Because intimacy and chemistry are two sides of the same coin. So if you're not married, you're looking for chemistry. You're looking for the chemistry. You're looking for something that's greater than your expectation, something that you can flow right into without a hit. If you're married, you're looking for intimacy. Again, life is an adult game. Husband and wife go to bed at night. It's, I think, a privilege to sleep next to a person who's in their underwear. Man, you don't have to go to the club, the strip club, none of that. You got that right at home. But if there is a disconnect, right, then it could be very frustrating, and some guys sleep on the couch. Say amen, ladies. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the thing that you want to rediscover is intimacy. If you're married and your marriage is off, you've got to put some intimacy into it. I'm going to be breaking that down in part one. I hope this don't take like 5 or 6 parts, but a lot of people just don't get it, and they got to hear stuff over and over again, and you got to break it all the way down to the nil. And if you have their attention, they might grasp what you're saying. But you got to grab it now, because life is short. You don't have forever. You want to be happy now. So before you head to the divorce court, check out what intimacy has in store for you. Intimacy, I should say, has in store for you, because it should be natural, and it should have been, and it should have never been disrupted. Right? So that's what happens. But single people, you have to gravitate toward chemistry. Me and this girl was so amazing together. Not only sexual. I remember she would just fix food a certain way that I like, without any knowledge of how I like it. Boom. She came back. One day she came back with a book. She said, I just picked up this book. I don't know why. I don't know. I hope you like it. Here it is. She didn't make a big deal about it. She just gave it to me like, here, I've got this book for you. Turns out the book was a book that I had bought and lost, bought again and lost, didn't have it, and she brought me that book, and that was a very important book to my life. When you find a good book, you got to keep it, and I had lost it twice, but she came back with the book. Just no knowledge of me in regards to that book, but she came back with the book. I remember another time, waiting on me, was do some paperwork. I was looking for the paper, I couldn't find it, and so she was sitting down, and she just happened to look up a certain way. She looked right at it, and I said, oh, because I was following her eyes. I'm just saying, that might not seem like much, but when two people are on the same page, whereas if one missed it, the other one got it, you have amazing chemistry. You have amazing chemistry. And with that amazing chemistry, sex is not a problem. Now, one of the big issues is that people have to come to grips that if you got something good, you just can't do something stupid and mess it up. And especially when it comes to sex, if you having great sex, good sex, you can't mess it up. You shouldn't mess it up. We were younger at the time, and I was so taken by her. I didn't notice other things that I should have noticed that it eventually caused us to break up because, some things are intolerable. And in marriage, nothing is intolerable. But when something becomes intolerable to one of the partners, then that's where intimacy starts seeping out, right? Like husband and wife laying in bed and she got gas. Well, hopefully the guy is a gentleman. But if not, it might be some name calling, some derogatory remarks made, evidencing a lack of intimacy. So, if you're single, it's chemistry. If you're married, it's intimacy. And the reason why those two are different in terms of whatever side you're on is because in marriage, you have rights. Dating, you can only go so far. You can only go so far to demand something out of somebody or to enforce what should be obvious. You can't really do it dating. So you're looking to get married, but before you cross that line, make sure it's the highest chemistry match you can find. That'll save you years of agony, right? Another funny sexual experience we had. One time we were just laying on the floor, right, on the carpet, right, and I saw that her head was like being pushed into an awkward position. I said, no, baby, move back from the wall. She said, no, that's all right. Go ahead. 'Cause, she was having such a good time. And, her neck was all right. But the point I'm making is that's what happens when you have chemistry. You had two people having a good time, not one complaining about not having a good time, and the other has a happy lifestyle. And so, again, we focus on intimacy to heal all marriage situations. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I got to keep telling you, life is an adult game. If you are childish on key issues, it's no wonder your stuff is messed up, and it's going to stay messed up because you're childish on key issues. But I give this stopgap measure that if you're really, really on the rocks, what you need to do, hire you a babysitter, somebody to watch the house from the little knuckleheads, your kids, and mom and dad go to a motel room, right? Get a motel room. If you got good money, get a good one. If you got a little money, get a cheap one. Doesn't matter about that. All things being equal, like it's decent. But what does matter is that you come away from your house life. You go to the motel, shower before you leave the house, freshen up real good, get to the motel, take everything off. It's debatable whether you should take the wig off or not. I don't know. But take everything off and have a conversation. Sit right next to each other on the bed and talk. Talk about it. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. Normally it's the case. At some point in time, the woman is going to say, but do you still love me? That's how women do. Unless, of course, the woman been putting the guy in the headlock and body slamming him, then it might be a little different. But basically, a woman will say that, well, do you still love me? Now, tell me, what a guy's gonna say. Sitting on a bed right next to a butt-naked woman when she says, "Do you love me?" Friend, that's like spraying lighter fluid in the barbecue grill. You know, that's lighting a fire. And that's what y'all need to do. And you need to look at each other as two zeros and start over from there with intimacy. And if it doesn't go the way I'm telling you it should go, then yeah, you're probably gonna get a divorce. And you need to make all the plans you need to make well in advance, so that divorce don't equal out to be homeless for either party. You know, you could disagree and all that, but it's no need to be mean and nasty. All things being equal, like there's a equal distribution of the assets, but we not on that. We not on the divorce side. I'll do something on that later on. I'm on the healing side, the marriage side, how you can have a happy marriage. You have to be an adult. It's an adult game. You know, you have to play the game as it is and not create a new game that doesn't work. It's very important that you consider that you're not operating, you know, like so many females listen to their mama, and they mama done chased her man away. What do you think's gonna happen? She got the same philosophy mama got. She gonna chase her man away. You gotta have an adult approach to it, because your happiness depends on it. Every household has to earn income, meaning somebody is working somewhere doing something that brings the money in, and after the money's in, it's not over. Is the household a wonderful place to be? You know, you want a happy marriage. And another important thing is that when kids see parents in love, they grow up wanting everything they saw in their parents. But now, if parents grow up seeing daddy got mama in the headlock and he give her some uppercuts, and she pick up a 40-ounce bottle, drink the last little swig, and then bust him over the head with it, man, your kid's gonna be hell raisers. It's gonna come out of them. This is what they considered to be the way to go. And they might not consciously agree with it, but the activity is in their unconscious or subconscious. And so they're gonna act out what they have experienced with their parents to some degree. Yeah, they're gonna be hell raisers. So that's another reason to have a happy home full of love. Well, two problems, the sex problem and the money problem, have to be solved. So now let's get into intimacy. We're going to talk a few minutes about intimacy. Well, what is it? It's the flip side of chemistry. What is it? What is intimacy? It's willing to show tenderness and compassion to the other at all expense. Important. At all expense. See, what happens in a marriage is the intimacy. The intimacy is normally the first thing to leave, you know? Because if you remember the marriage vows, and I hope everybody used those marriage vows, you know, you read along with a preacher, repeat after the preacher to say those vows. You got people coming up with kooky vows that have no basis in reality. It's just a poem. Okay, read the poem on the honeymoon. Okay, when you get married, say the vows. You need to say stuff like love, honor, and obey. A lot of women can't handle that obey thing, but you never heard the truth about it. You heard other women who, by the way, have messed up relationships or don't have a man. You heard what they say about it. I ain't obeying no man. Ain't no man gonna tell me what to do. We equal. Well, that's not true. First of all, but secondly, power to the statement when a woman in a marriage vow says she will obey, she's saying that she gonna obey her husband and not other people. You don't know how powerful that is. That's when you gotta tell mama, thank you for the advice. I'm not listening to you. I'm gonna obey my husband. That means in the household, the two are united, not one siding with someone's opinion who don't live there, ain't paying rent, ain't cooking food, ain't contributing anything to the success of the marriage and the family, and they're calling the shots. How's that gonna work? That's the only reason why a woman should commit to obeying her husband. That way she can reject nonsense she hear from her group of cackling hens or her mama, dad, whoever. You know, now don't get me wrong, you should be able to talk to your people about stuff. They may have some advice for you. But the plan you're gonna run with is the plan generated by the husband and the wife. So that obedience statement is all important because it cuts everybody off from having control over the marriage and they not even in it. You probably never thought about that. Mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, in-laws, outlaws, people want to control. Listen, if you are a married woman, part of your problem may be, if you're unhappy currently, it may be that you're listening to some cackling hens trying to give you some tips and some hints and some hacks. Girl, I wouldn't do that. This is what I would do. I would do this and make him. See, if you getting that information, you're obeying people outside of the household. And that's wrong because that's like the guy, tell you a story, that's like the guy who went to a church revival. It was wonderful. The evangelist was on fire for God. He was healing the sick and casting out devils. And this guy had the devil cast out of him, right? So then he got back in the car. He was driving home. He pulled over the side of the road and he opened up the passenger door and said, "Hey, devil, devil." The devil came and he said, "Hey, man, I was just kidding, man. I just want to see if that church stuff worked, man. Come on in, man. You know, we gonna hang tonight." So the devil got in, you know, and they took off. And the devil said, "Well, if we still cool, then why don't you let me drive sometime, man? I like to drive too." The guy said, "I didn't know the devil could drive." So he pulled over and said, "Go ahead, devil, you drive." The devil drove the car off the cliff and killed the man. Of course, the moral to the story is don't give the devil a ride because he gonna want to drive. Or to say it another way, you can't take other people's information as serious in opposition to your spouse. See, we talk about intimacy. Your spouse come first in marriage. That's why it works. See, it don't work because we both have good jobs, decent money come. No, your spouse come first. Let me give you another one. Let's say your wife's working and she came home, she's tired, and intimacy would say, "Baby, let me rub your feet." Now imagine now, she been working on her feet, walking back and forth, whatever she do at work, and you gonna rub her feet. Now, if you gotta go get rubber gloves to rub your wife's feet, or if you look at her feet and say, "Baby, you got too much dead skin. I might catch something from your feet. Your feet stink." You got all these. See, that's proof that a lack of intimacy is the problem. What you supposed to do? You're supposed to get a little basin or whatever and wash her feet and massage them. you supposed to go the extra mile. You're supposed to go the whole 9 yards. Now I got to talk about it from a different angle, because this is something that people don't get, and they really don't get it in the days in which we live, because they've missed so many background seminars, like Sunday school, or where people have programs for kids that build character. They don't have any of that anymore. So everybody's on a willy-nilly tip, thinking up stuff and making it okay because they thought it up. Well, it's important, right, to understand fundamental differences between genders. Men are not women, nor can they ever be, and women are not men. Now, why is this important? It's very important because if you think about genitalia, if you think about what's between our legs, men have a pole, women have a hole. That's just basic reality. That's true. And the thing about it is, as far as men go, and I know because I'm a man, the pole is not a big problem. We just release urine through it and get with women. There's only 2 things you can do with it. 3, if you're really, really lonely. But the woman have a hole. And more than that, the vagina is wired throughout a woman in an amazing way, because it is the vagina. It is the only door to planet Earth. You cannot get here as a human being unless you come through a woman's vagina. Now imagine how that works. Imagine the stress connected to having a vagina. See, this is the meaning of chivalry. They say chivalry is dead. Why men open doors and all this stuff? Why men put women on pedestals and all this stuff? Well, you should do it for your wife. If you're doing it for somebody that's not your wife, y'all need to get married so you can get the full benefit. But the whole point is that the vagina is a problem for the woman, whereas the penis is not a problem for the man. They ain't gonna do anything. You just go pee, and then you use it in intercourse. But other than that, it's no big deal. It's not always clamoring. It's not always beeping or humming or vibrating. We don't have the only door to the planet. Men don't. No, we don't. No. We got the seed that produces the life, but we don't have the door. See, it ain't done until the baby come out. So we don't have that. Women have that. And, all you have to do, talking to you knucklehead men, all you have to do is think about a little girl, right? And she gets older, right? She gets older, and I don't know how it happens. I don't have any experience or any witness. Nobody ever told me. But at some point in time, I imagine that a little girl getting older is going to say, "Mommy, there's a hole between my legs." I mean, they're going to have that moment, that conversation, however it goes. It's very, very important because it may determine the sexuality of that girl. She don't know nothing about it, but it's there. Now, folks, human curiosity just basically says something goes in that hole, and once you know what goes in that hole, now the problem is compounded. See? So, when you see a man being a gentleman to a woman, when you see a man expressing that intimacy, because it's not necessarily a public thing, but intimacy is expressed in chivalry, doing kind things out in public, because a man's role in marriage is to always do that, because you're alleviating the burden of the woman so she can relax and then blossom. See? So if a guy doesn't know if his wife is being sexually satisfied because, he's running a race and he got to come in first, so he may never know what he's really doing, if he's doing anything at all, because that is the whole key to the release of a woman. And again, this would not be important except for the fact that genders are different. They are not the same. You cannot merge them. They are opposite poles, if you will. And so because of that, different strokes for different folks. One works this way, one works the other way. And so a guy, a husband, I should say, have to know. See, when the husband don't know about his wife, then again, intimacy. You gotta start developing intimacy, because it's the same as chemistry. When I was with this girl I was telling you about, man, she knew stuff without me telling her. We had the intimacy, and it was highly sexual, which I think would help most married couples, because they don't know. And so it becomes a problem. It wouldn't be a problem if the guy was intimate. Now, let me give you some pointers so you could get started. First of all, for the guys, you have to always date and flirt with your wife. You have to always date and flirt with your wife. Huh? You can't be, I'm stuck in the house with you type of thing. Let me say it another way. A man, a husband, should always be pursuing his wife. You want her, but I think she won more than you did. Just think about it. One day, you had what you had, she got what she had. After the marriage, she got half of what you have, automatically, by law. She won. So the only way you gonna win is to have a happy home. That's the only way marriage works. Other than that, it could, people could fall off and accept it by degrees, And you could look back and say, I remember when we used to, and you don't do it no more. I remember when we used, and you don't do it no more. I remember when you used to hold it up, and you don't do it no more. And then the name calling and the derogatory remarks. Now see, here's the point to both chemistry and intimacy. Chemistry is of such, and intimacy is of such, that it prevents derogatory speech, for the most part, one toward another. Anybody can have something serious to argue about, but what we have emotionally, spiritually, and sexually is always going to be greater than what we could be arguing about. So chemistry prevents that, because we know if any rift comes up, we're going to be miserable, because we're not having the union, the fun, the closeness that we were experiencing before the argument. So intimacy gonna cut off that. All that name calling and you this and you that. I hate your mama. Leroy, stop talking about my mama. Man, intimacy kills all that. But if you don't have it in your marriage, you have to develop it. And it starts by a guy paying attention to his woman as though he's still pursuing. Now, when I was with the girl, right, it was just funny to me. I had a smile on my face all the time because, anything might happen at any time, and we were all in. But she would just come up to me and say, "Why don't you stop it?" I say, "Stop what? I ain't doing nothing. I'm in the sink washing dishes. I ain't doing nothing." She said, and she would show me moisture in excess just from us being in the same room and perhaps think about what we did before. Now that was outstanding. I admit that was the highest level of chemistry which I could write a book on. That's the whole point, folks, that you get information from real experience, not from TV. So you want to have chemistry. If you're single, you want to find that chemistry. And if you're married, you gotta live in an intimacy world, because it's the same as chemistry. It's the same thing, really. But it's two sides of the same coin, depending on whether you're married or single. The point here is that, I think she was pursuing me, and I was just spending time for, I don't know, we had literary agreement. So the words that we use naturally were interesting words to each other, right? And so the word conversation and the wisdom from that, everything was working together, everything. And so you got to find that chemistry, and it works the same when you develop intimacy. So, and you would be surprised that maybe a lot of things are the equivalent of a man asking for sex or conquering, per se, in that arena. It's the same energy, you know what I mean? So if I'm pursuing my wife, not on a sexual level, now here's the big point. This is the big shocker. That's implied. It's implied. Yeah, I'm trying to make love to you as soon as possible. I'm not talking about next week, next Thursday. As soon as possible. I give that impression, but that's not the issue. But the issue is whether we do or not, I'm gonna flirt with my wife. I'm trying to hit her up. If I can't get her hot, I'm trying to get her warm at least. Because unless a woman expresses graciousness, poor guy stuck in the house with an evil monster. And you married. If you stick it out, you're miserable. You ever wonder why people cheat? People cheat just because they are dissatisfied, feel stuck, or they have a propensity at a level the other partner didn't know about. I said before that if you are a refrigerator, why would you marry a stove? Stove is subject to be hot at any moment. A refrigerator is cold all the time. That's not chemistry. So that's not gonna be intimacy. Refrigerator sometimes sit right next to a stove. They hate each other. That's just the way to look at it. They're not friends. No, they're doing the opposite. Instinctively and inherently. So intimacy is all important. And to maintain and grow intimacy, sex becomes spontaneous. Because a lot of guys, I just be honest with you, a lot of guys just do not do a good job in bed. And you gotta work at it. I gotta talk to these brothers, you gotta work at it, because, when you talk about the climax, right? Like the climax to a movie. Y'all wake up together in the morning, go to work, take the kids to school, blah, blah, blah. All right, and the climax to the day, what is that gonna be? If it's gonna be more disappointment, then you're recycling and reinforcing just negativity. More disappointment, no climax. So the climax have to be a happy moment for everybody. And this happens when you feel like teenagers. You know, when I was a teenager dating, man, I had to get what I could get. Then it's just a hug and a kiss. I get a few squeezes in, a few kisses in, because mama might not let her out the house for a couple of days. I might not see her again for 3 or 4 days. Then we gonna talk on the phone. And you know, back in the day, we had a house phone. It was everybody's phone. You didn't have your own personal phone. And so, you know, you had to get it then. You had to get your goodbye kiss, man. You know, well, I'll see you later. Give her a high five. No, not this sweet girl right here. I had to let her know what I'm feeling for her. And so that's a start. You gotta just start flirting with and dating your wife. You have to alleviate yourself of all possible disappointment, because for the most part, she's not gonna believe. It'll be a moment, right? But for the guy, you're developing this habit for one purpose only. You want to make her happy. And if there's a second purpose, you want a happy home. See? And once you go to work on that, then it's just doing stuff for her. Acts of kindness and tenderness. Now, some guys, watch this. Some guys, you say, honey, let me rub. She say, no, you ain't gonna do it right. If that happened, that's messed up. You've lost all credibility as a person who actually cares enough to try. She automatically know anything you talk about doing like that, you ain't gonna do it right. That's sad. Cause that means there's only one thing you will do, and that is jump on and ride. That's about all you gonna do. Other than that, if it's something she really need, you ain't gonna do it right. See, that's the breakdown of intimacy. The intimacy says, I'm gonna do my best, pleasing to you in this manner. Whether it's working around the house or all, it's everything. See, make your life the inside. Focus on the two becoming one. And then you have to understand to be tolerable. I think I said that right. You have to understand how to tolerate. How to tolerate, man. You know, see, now let me show you this, because you might think I did a lot of talking. It's just blah, blah, blah stuff. No, I don't do blah, blah, blah stuff. Here's the point. The moment a woman has the utmost confidence in a man to solve her unspoken vagina problem, it's over then. That woman will do amazing things for her husband, the family, the household. She will blossom. Now, what's the point of having a wife she never blossomed? You know, you ever, when you was a kid, picked up some dandelions, try to make them grow. In a couple of days, they turn brown and they're dead. Now, would you rather have some flowers that blossom or some dead dandelions in your marriage? It all depends, right? Now, let me take you back one more thing here to show you the preference, right? The preeminence, I should say, or the hierarchy, if you will. God made man first, then he made the woman out of the man. So the man was an original, and the woman was a partial from the original, right? So when Adam was by himself, God was just shaking his head like, man, look at this goofy guy. It ain't good for him to be alone. But what God's solution was a help meet. And see, when you done broke off the intimacy and broke down the intimacy and y'all have depression and don't know it, right? Then ain't no help. Ain't no help, mate. You have to do that yourself. Man, yes, you know, it's funny, but you have to be careful because you want the right stuff to come out of a woman's mouth. You want her words to you and about you to be favorable. Because, again, the woman has the only door to the planet. And so she got a connection with God that men cannot have. You just think about it. God wanted a family, right? Well, gee, I wonder how could that happen? How could the earth be populated? A lot of sex. An awful lot of sex to produce 7 billion people on this planet. Now, is God all that concerned about whether you happy or not after the fact? No. So you have to be concerned. You can't put God on it. It's up to you. You pray the right stuff for your spouse and family, but you have to make the right action to get the results you think are important. And so, how many guys are married and their wife never blossom? She's just the maid, the cook, and the hoe. The sex partner. That's it. You know, women are receivers. Women carry babies 9 months or more. So consider, what is your wife carrying? And how long she been carrying something on the inside that you are not worthy enough for her to express it freely? She know you gonna chop her up. You'll cut her down to size. But when that intimacy kick in and she get the real release, most men don't even know their own woman's sexuality. Do she like this? Do she like that? Let me help you, bruh. She like it all, but she don't trust you to do it. Okay, there's no limit to it. She's the helpmeet for the man. Man, y'all gotta pray. Y'all gotta get into this. For real, for real. Because when intimacy allows a woman the freedom of release, she begins to blossom. And all the goodness of a woman, besides her wonderful body parts, comes out. Let me say it another way. You know, if you give it to a woman real good, boy, she'll make a 7-course meal for breakfast. So, this is the purpose of marriage, the two to become one. So you're in the game of marriage to win the big prize, which is happiness, right? Happy with your life. Let me explain happiness. Happiness is not happiness. Happiness is contentment with peak moments. That's what it is. So, you know, if you start doing this intimacy stuff, don't try to have great sex all the time as a married couple. Don't do that. I'm warning you. You know, have it, but not all the time. A lot of times it's a little love-making maintenance. Don't go for the great sex every day, all the time, or whenever, right? But stay tender and compassionate. That sometimes a good hug and a kiss will do. Of course, there's a lot of married people don't even kiss anymore, right? So you know how important then this seminar is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about to close part 1. I just want to make sure you got the fine points that If you plan on getting married, you're looking for chemistry. Don't go for what look good. Because it could be an idiot under that good look. And you'll be messed up like these married people I'm talking to who's going to get fixed up. But, let me say to everybody, we come from people who, forefathers and foremothers, at the moment of pregnancy, they were either forced into marriage or they enjoined and embraced the idea of marriage for the child's sake. There were no concept of baby mama. You pregnant? Where he at? The family's brothers would go get that guy and drag him down to the church. Y'all getting married. There were no baby mamas, baby daddies, and that's where we came from. So our great-grandparents got married at the first sign of pregnancy, all things being equal, right? And so, they stayed married for the most part. They had an amazing ability to tolerate and love the other person, to provide a household, a safe place to live, and to raise children, good environment. And they weren't doing it like people doing it today. They weren't like dating. They had a moment, that moment produced a baby, bam, they had to get married. So now you have more options and opportunities, but you might have too much. So if you're single, don't settle for anything less than at least 60% chemistry. Because the rest is a work in progress, right? But the chemistry, as the Bible says about charity, it will cover a multitude of sins. Let me say it to you like this. If you're a single female and you start dating a guy, you need to make some adult statements like, if you're a good man and you serious about loving me, I'll give it all to you. Whenever you want it, I submit 100%. All this is you. The moment you serious, 100%. Because, now listen, see, women been listening to women live crap, and the crap don't work. It just makes more miserable women. That's all I see happening. But anyway, the reason why single female want to make that statement in the midst of a dating situation is because how you ever gonna know what you about to sleep with? Because if you keep dating, you gon' sleep with him, right? But how you know what the person is? Here's the point. After a single female make that statement, see what his reaction is. That'll tell you all you need to know about it. Because he should be coming back talking about marriage. Because you solved his problem. He like you. You think you're cute. Think you're sexy. And if you gonna let him have it, then he ain't gonna need nothing else. He could focus on what his calling is or what he believes his destiny is and take you along with him. So you fall into the mode of a helpmeet, he happy. Now he can act right. He can think right with that support of the love of a woman behind. And there's many spiritual blessings involved too. But here's the point. If you don't say that, you'll never know what you're getting into. Right? Because if he don't come back with something from the heart, as a man should, then he got bull crap. And you need to move on to the next one. Right? See, you don't think like you think. You thinking, hey, a good man, that's it. I got a good man, raise a family with, have a house with, and develop and grow and prosper. That's the right idea. And, people don't have the right idea. You can't educate them and then think they're going to perform the right idea with you. That's for somebody else. You got to educate them on the way out, right? And find the one that's ready with the right idea. See, because you can't change nobody, can barely teach anybody. So you have to find people that's ready with the right idea. And that's what you want to do if you're single. If you are married, right, and you on the rocks, I told you about going to the motel, having a butt-naked conversation with your spouse until y'all can find happiness, okay? If you're not really on the rocks, but you're unhappy, miserable, dissatisfied, broke, busted, and can't be trusted, listen, start with being intimate with one another. And dare I say it, the man be the priest of the home and lead the family. Have you ever put your arms around your wife and say, baby, I'm gonna pray, let me pray. And pray for your wife too? See, men ain't doing none of this stuff, but they want them legs open at the drop of a hat, anytime and all that. And, you know, the vicissitude of life dictate, right? Somebody just tired. They ain't in the mood for nothing. And then you been a pistol? Man, that's how women start, you know, withdrawing and holding back from their husband because it's too much. And you ain't making this thing happy. You're an idiot in her mind. But she hoping you'll change one day. But she don't believe you ever will. But she stuck. And then you stuck. So the only thing to do is to be happy while you're stuck. And together, find a way out. You know, if you lose intimacy, a guy will say, dang, woman, you ate the last piece of chicken again? You're becoming a big fat pig. I'm just saying, over time, and a couple of kids, and maybe the woman can't keep up, right? Hey, why not say, baby, look, you better than this. I remember that beautiful shape you had when we first met, right? I still love you every bit as much, but I'm gonna take you for a walk every day. We just gonna start walking every day. Put your foot down. If you can't walk, no more chicken. But I'm just saying, these things that are important to the woman, the man has to devote considerable attention along with kindness and tenderness. Cause we're not gonna tell her, but we really trying to get her hot as much as possible. Cause then we gonna have to satisfy her as thoroughly as possible. And gee, all that is a lot of fun. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. Look forward to doing part 2.